Hello, thanks for joining me on this webinar today. My name is Louise Castens and I'm the PyAra Head of Product. And today I'd like to speak to you about JBoss EAP 7, which has entered ELS Phase 1. And it's mainly about how to keep your Java EE stack secure and supported, but on your own terms. So let me give you a little bit of context first. Java EE, which is what it was known as before we moved to Jakarta EE, still remains very heavily used in enterprise workloads as of 2025. So while there's been a shift to newer versions with enhanced capabilities, Java EE itself still has a very foundational role in large-scale mission-critical systems. And that's across sectors like banking, healthcare, telecommunications, and government agencies. It's important to note that over 90% of Fortune 500 companies continue to rely on Java, including Jakarta EE, for their core backend workloads. And the reason enterprises invest in Java is not just for legacy reasons, but also because it is a very reliable, backward compatible, and rich ecosystem, and it has a lot of active innovation. So nowadays, while some vendors still do support older versions like Java EE 8, mainstream support is ending with some users having to resort to extended or lifetime support for continued and production use. Most major vendors are actually encouraging migration to Jakarta EE or to newer Java versions for future-proofing and long-term security. Extended support for Java EE 8 typically requires separate enterprise agreements because mainstream support has been phased out. And entering into such end-of-life extended phases does expose organizations to several significant risks. And that's not just security and compliance vulnerabilities and regulatory issues, but you also have aging tooling and tech debt, for example. So enterprises that have moved into extended phases like Red Hat's move to ELS-1 means they end up paying more for less. So extended support contracts are expensive, and maintaining legacy infrastructure also requires specialized resources. A lack of technical support and updates means increased costs for issue resolution as well. So if you do want to maintain your Java EE 8 assets, it's best that you find a solution which still has full support for you. So let's have a look at what EE1 actually, ELS-1 actually means for JBoss users. So it began in July in 2025 when maintenance support for JBoss EAP officially ended. And ELS-1 comes at an additional cost, but also at a limited value. So according to Red Hat's information about ELS-1, they do support critical security patches and they have urgent bug fixes that they deem critical. They have no new features, no certifications. Red Hat itself urges customers to plan their migration strategies accordingly because their focus will be purely on maintaining security and stability of the applications rather than any new functionality. From 2027, ELS-2 has 0 updates or vendor accountability. So what does that mean? Red Hat only commits to a very narrow set of fixes. Typical, that means critical security and urgent bug fixes, and even those are delivered on a very discretional basis and at a much slower pace. There is no obligation on their part to add new features or to improve performance or to keep up with newer Java standards or operating systems or even third-party libraries. So that does mean that while ELS-1 sounds like it's an extension, it's actually a freeze. And that's not just no enhancements, but it's also a hindrance to your modernization. The impact of staying on platforms that are in end-of-life phases for you is significant. Not only do you not get new features or innovations, but it also means you accrue aging tooling and technical debt. So your teams are locked into outdated APIs and tools. That makes ongoing development, maintenance of your applications, and integration with modern platforms increasingly difficult and very risky. As your infrastructure continues to age, it also brings compatibility issues. So any necessary changes like JVM and database upgrades actually become a massive headache. When you are entering extended life support phases like ELS-1 or ELS-2, the volume and frequency of security updates also drops. That means you have increased security vulnerability, and it dramatically increases the risk of you being exposed to unpatched vulnerabilities which are exploited by attackers. And that's not a good place to be in. You can also get more compliance and regulatory issues. So organizations running on unsupported software can fall out of compliance with industry regulations like PSI, DSS, HIPAA, GDPR, for example. And that not only puts you at more risk for audits, but it could also incur penalties. And sadly, all of that at an additional cost, because phases usually come at an additional charge. By 2027, ELS-2 will mean limited security updates as well, and no other guaranteed updates. So the longer you stay on older versions, the more you limit your ability to move to newer platforms. And that may trap you in this endless cycle of paying more for less because you've got increased migration difficulty over time. So what are your options if you're on EAP 7 and you actually have about 3? You can stay on JBoss EAP 7. In the short term, obviously, you avoid the pain of having to migrate to a newer version. But as we said, you do that at an additional cost and additional risk. If you choose to upgrade to get full support, you could stay on JBoss and move to EAP 8. But that's not a straightforward migration. And it's also got limited benefits for short-term gains, which we'll look at more in a minute. Your alternative is to migrate to Paya Platform Enterprise 5, because we still have full support of Java EE 8, and it's been extended until 2029. Paya's platform has lower licensing costs compared to JBoss EAP, and we give you great value for money. And I'll explain that in more detail. So staying on JBoss EAP 7, you write out ELS-1 and ELS-2. You avoid the short-term pain. You don't have to migrate for now, but you do that at that increased cost and risk. So less support for more price. And by the end of 2027, ELS-2 will put you in a very bad position with not only no new features and software enhancements, but also no certifications, which puts you at greater compliance risk. You've got deprecated container images and increasingly continuously technical debt accruement, and with very limited technical support as well. And that really does put you at risk of vendor lock-in and other risks, because as we said, the longer you stay on older versions, the more difficult it is to move. So if you do decide to upgrade to JBoss EAP 8, you will get full support restored. Unfortunately, though, it's not a straightforward migration, because you will have to do that namespace change from Java EE to Jakarta EE 10. And that's a very complicated move. Not only that, but once you're on full support on EAP 8, it's got infrequent releases, and you've also got more elevated licensing costs. And sadly, it'll only give you a temporary return to full support, because EAP 8 is actually set to have full support ended in 2028. So no sooner will you have migrated than you need to start thinking about your next steps. Customers also on full support don't actually have the ability to ask for new features or influence the roadmap in any significant way. You also get infrequent updates, and you will be at a higher risk of vendor lock-in again. While JBoss EAP does have full support SLAs and technical assistance, IBM Red Hat are obviously a very large enterprise, and customers do complain about slower response times. Your path to migration to Paya Platform Enterprise 5 would mean that not only do you have full support of Java EE 8, because we include modern tooling for DevOps, we also offer you a very clear way forward to modern platform and exciting roadmaps. Payara has experience in assisting you in your migration, because not only do we have experience with similar migrations, but we've got great migration guidance for you to follow. And the path is as simple as assessing your specific requirements, piloting the migration, and once you're comfortable to cut over, we'll help you optimize your application's performance. And all of this with the support of our technical experts if you need it. And once you're on Payara Enterprise 5, you can enjoy full support with no namespace change needed for the short term, and also no additional cost. And let's have a little look at how our life cycles compare to JBoss EAP platform. So you can see that Payara's life cycles tend to be longer. So specifically for Payara Platform Enterprise 5, we have full feature support now until 2027, and we've put extended support until 2029. And we updated this because Payara realized that our enterprise customers are actually remaining on Java EE 8 for longer, and we actually wanted to support them until they were ready to upgrade. So once you're on full support and extended support, our ticket response times are among the best, if not the best in the industry. And we have very comprehensive expert technical support. You can also request new features, and you do have the ability to influence our roadmap. So we like talking to our customers and finding out what you're planning and to support you in those plans in the future. You also get very regular monthly updates. So not only do we have full commercial support with SLAs and hotfixes, but you've still got supported container images. We've got very regular certification updates, and also a very robust regulatory compliance framework. So for example, from next year, all our enterprise platform products will be fully CRA compliant. When you go into extended support, you'll have security fixes and other fixes available at customer request until 2029, and again, at no additional cost. And should you find yourself in the situation that by 2029 you're still not migrated, we have lifetime support available to you until at least 2031. And that includes security fixes, bug fixes backported on demand to a shared release. There's also differences in terms of licensing and support costs. So JBoss, for example, has key features and options like performance monitoring tools and Red Hat single sign-on for OAuth or OpenID Connect support that are not included in the standard subscription free. So if you do want to use them, you have to purchase them separately. Payara, on the other hand, includes all of its features in the enterprise platform at no additional cost. JBoss EAP's licensing, support, and technology costs are also significant, and especially for smaller organizations or teams with limited Red Hat dependencies or projects with tight budgets, that can be a steep ask. So if you are an organization that is interested in reducing your application server and runtime expenses, you can benefit from a more economical and budget-friendly option like Payara. We provide best-in-class technologies with comparable or superior support at a fraction of the price. We also have proven results and compatibility. So not only are we 100% Java EE 8 compliant, if you move to Payara Platform 5, you'll have no code changes and no forced namespace refactoring in the near future, and also no additional costs. Once you're on Payara Platform, we will support you in modernizing at your own pace. So if you're ready to upgrade from Java EE 8 to Jakarta EE 10, you can do so in an assisted way. We have a tool which is called the Upgrade Advisor, which tells you exactly what to do to upgrade your applications. For server version upgrades, we have the upgrade tool in Admin Console, which means that you can upgrade between minor and major versions very easily. And then for more modernization, when you're looking to become more cloud native or containerization, or using Kubernetes to optimize your containers, we have products like Payara Cube, which can support you in that modernization journey as well. And very importantly, beyond that, Pyara believes very strongly in vendor neutrality, which means we are highly portable and we do avoid locking you in. Not that you want to leave once you're on the platform anyway. So let's just summarize. If you stay on JBoss EAP 7, you will be paying more for less because ELS-1 does have less support and it does put you at greater risk. By 2027, ELS-2 will put you in an even worse position with no new features or software enhancements, but also very limited technical support. And not just that, but with continually increasing technical debt, that will compromise your path to modernization. If you choose the alternative and migrate to Pyara Enterprise Platform 5, you still have full support of Java EE 8 until 2029. We offer full support and commercial SLAs and hotfixes. In the short term, you won't even have to worry about that forced namespace refactoring or additional costs because we are still supported for several years. Not only that, but Pyara offers more regular monthly releases as well as asynchronous bug fixes and security patches. So that means you will continue to enjoy regular certification and full compliance. And should you need to resort to it, Pyara's lifetime support would allow you to extend the use of the platform until at least 2031. So please, if you are currently affected by JBoss EAP 7's ELS phases, or if you're on a platform which is entering extended support phases, don't hesitate to reach out to Pyara. We can ensure you long-term stability and predictability. And we'd be very happy to understand your options and your particular requirements and help you on your modernization path, but on your own terms. Thank you.